Hey, this is the Doty Stew podcast, and we welcome Travis Palmer, which is the executive director of the Caldwell Chamber. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so tell us, what is the most exciting thing going on at the Chamber this week, this month?
Man. Well, we always have about 9 irons in the fire at any given moment. So, right now we are trying to be ready for our Leadership Caldwell graduation luncheon, which is next week. And at the same time, we are trying to fill the next class, which starts in September. And then, of course, the huge juggernaut we're months into the planning for is our Buckaroo Breakfast event, which this will be the 93rd year of that breakfast event during Caldwell Night Rodeo.
Yeah, since 1933, the Buckaroo Breakfast, right?
Yeah.
All right. You mentioned Leadership Academy first, so let's start there. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the Leadership Academy and how the Chamber's involved?
Yeah, Leadership Caldwell is it's a leadership program that we run and have for a long time. And essentially we get a class of up-and-coming business people from around the Caldwell community. So companies that want to groom somebody for advancement, or somebody that owns a company that just wants more leadership. There's a variety of reasons why people join, but they will sign up for this program. It's one full day a month for 9 months. So starting in September, ending in May, and then we do their graduation at the lunch in June. 9 months long. The first half of the day is classroom style leadership instruction from all kinds of talented people we can bring to teach different lessons in leadership. And we bring in a variety of resources for that. We have lunch. And then the second half of the day, whoever's hosting us for that day, they give us behind the scenes guided tours of whatever that industry is. So, 1 month we might be getting a tour of the water treatment plant to say, they get to learn, they get to see all the sludge and all the nasty stuff that we have to deal with as a city.
Very interesting facility.
Very interesting, and the next time we might be touring the Canyon County Jail and seeing how out of date and awful condition that is. Then we might be at Crookham Company learning about the seed industry in Caldwell and how we have world-class companies right here in Caldwell that they might not know about. So, every month is different, but it's a combination of leadership instruction and a deep dive into all the things that make Caldwell the unique community that it is.
Can you go over who some of your instructors were for this class?
Yeah, so this year was a different year. We used to have one instructor for all 9 months. His name was Jeremy Graves. Still is, but he took a job to go. He got his dream job offer to go work at his alma mater in Iowa. And so we lost him at the end of last year. Fantastic guy, great leadership lessons. So we were faced with the decision: do we go try to find another Jeremy, or do we go the harder route, which is a lot more planning and coordination, which is what we ultimately did. And we went and looked for a variety of different leaders and instructors that could bring different viewpoints and different lessons all throughout the year. So we had Brian Gunnell, who's got 20 years of HR experience. He was I think he was the top HR guy for Go-Go Squeeze for a long time. We brought in motivational speakers that do all kinds of brain science teaching. A guy named Brian Fretwell, fantastic guy. I've known him since college. We brought in Matt McDaniel, who teaches educational leadership at CW or College of Idaho. I'm going to get slapped by Regan if she sees this.
Yes.
But yeah, and then we worked with somebody from CWI as well. So that's why I was getting them mixed up, because we just try to bring in a whole bunch of different experts on leadership that can bring a different piece, and that actually worked really well. It's so much harder to coordinate, but I'm glad we did it, because I think it actually brought the level of expertise and instruction that each student can identify differently with each different instructor as we go. I think they just got that much more out of it. It's been really good.
And then, like you said at the end, there's a field trip.
Yep.
To a predetermined location.
Yeah,
I'm guessing the class gets some input, or maybe they don't.
Well, every day is different. So we tell them, okay, this, January we're meeting here, and if a company hosts us, they got to provide a classroom space for us. They usually provide lunch as well, and then they're usually the ones that give us the guided tour of whatever industry or topic we're trying to learn about. So West Valley Medical Center, or all these different things.
Do you have to own a business or be on the promotional upward trajectory to go to this class, or can any citizen apply?
Any citizen can do it. However, we do have to cap the amount that we allow into each class because, you know, if you get beyond 40 people, it's a logistical nightmare. The room size has to change. It changes everything. So we cap it at 40. Chamber member businesses get not only preference, meaning if you apply for Leadership Caldwell and you're not a chamber member, you might get in, but you might not, because if we reach our cap, we're going to go to chamber member businesses first because we're a membership organization. So we got to always create that value.
Sure.
And you also get a discount if you're a chamber member too. So it's a significant investment in both time and money. And we recognize that, but it's worth it.
And because you mentioned the leadership class, but let's talk about what the chamber's primary focus is in the city of Caldwell. So what is a chamber's primary focus?
Well, I always tell this different I never say the same thing twice, it seems like, but you know, to distill it down to its most basic form, we exist to make Caldwell one of the most hospitable places to set up and operate a business as possible. So we want to make Caldwell a great place to start a company or expand your company. And then the other thing we do is, you know, the non-business side, which is to, you know, elevate the quality of life. So, you know, that's why we do things like the Treasure Valley Nightlight Parade or the Buckaroo Breakfast. You know, those aren't necessarily business-related activities, but we get a ton of businesses that participate. So that's kind of, I said it was distilled and then I just went on, but
that's okay. That's okay. The more information, the better.
Yeah. So, you know, the other way I kind of explain it sometimes is there's really 4 categories that we focus on as an organization. Advocacy, which is probably the most overlooked piece, but probably, in my opinion, the most important thing that chambers across the country do. And that's working with the government to try to make, you know, things good for businesses. So advocacy. Education, meaning we provide educational opportunities. We do lunch and learns where we bring in an expert on some subject matter. We just had one of our attorneys who's a member. He bought pizza. He set up in our conference room, and he gave a whole hour-long lunch and learn presentation on how your business may or may not be covered by your structure of an LLC or a C Corp or whatever. People often think that they have all these coverages, like, oh, I'll just do an LLC and I'm untouchable. Not necessarily. So he gave a lunch and learn on that. That's the education piece. So advocacy, education, promotion. So we have a directory, both online and in print. We have advertising opportunities at all the events that we do, sponsorship things, advertising on our website.
So
that
if a
kind
visitor
of stuff.
stops by, they know who's in town.
Yeah, if you're a member, we have a visitor center. You can put your flyers and cards in our lobby. So when people come in and they want to know, you know, where do I go for this? We hand them a directory, or we show them your business card if it's there, that kind of thing. And then the last piece, which is probably what we're most known for, is that networking or that connection piece. Obviously, I'm biased, but there is no better organization in existence that can connect you to your community better than your Chamber of Commerce. And I don't care what community you're at. If you've got a good functioning chamber, there's nobody better at it, because we're like the kiosk at the mall, you know, that says, you are here. Where do you want to go? We'll help you get there. I literally just had this conversation with somebody 10 minutes before I had to leave to come here. A new business coming to town, wants to set up shop. And, you know, we have companies, everything from the stay-at-home mom that wants to do Sensi or Melaleuca or something like that, all the way up to Simplot and D&B Supply and, you know, Crookham Company. They're all members. Obviously, they're members for different reasons, right? So every business has an evolution, just like you evolve throughout your life. Whatever stage of your business's lifespan or your evolution, however you want to look at it, we have something that we can try to provide for you or connect you to through the Chamber of Commerce. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
And it's like the collective membership, right? The money goes a lot further, like the attorney you spoke about.
Yeah.
Maybe you can't afford that individually, but collectively your money works to educate our business and our community as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so on that, what would you say if I was a visitor stopping in as a gym of Caldwell? Where would you send them first, or make sure you stop by this location?
Depends. Are they looking for food? Are they looking for entertainment? Are they looking for, another call I got today, somebody that's looking for a place to set up their business. They want to expand into Idaho. They have toured around a number of cities and they love Caldwell. So they said, hey, we are looking at a space over in the Sky Ranch area, but it checks 4 boxes, but not the 6. So can you help me? And so first thing I do is if I don't know of a space off the top of my head, I'm immediately connecting them with people like Ophelia and Dan Torres over at the Economic Development Department. And, I'm going to connect them with somebody that knows all the different, office spaces that might be for lease, and then I'm getting, I'm getting their data at the same time, so that in all the conversations that I'm having on the community all the time, I can keep my eyes open and say, oh, you know what? I just talked to this company. They're looking for this type of space. I just learned you have that type of space. Let me connect you. Yeah. And so that's my job. But it's also, we have, a whole team of people that do the exact same thing. We have ambassadors that they're our volunteer workforce. They don't get paid to do all the work that they do for the chamber, but it pays them in dividends because they're out learning about the community. They're getting better connected. And every conversation that they're having, every relationship that they're building through their ambassador duties, they get to introduce their company and their services to all these people. So, that's that networking, that's that connection, that's the secret sauce of what chambers do all over the world.
Yeah, the networking and the connection, and that's mentioned a lot through the chamber. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about Coffee Connect a little bit, and then you also have an evening, I won't call it a program or event, to also connect. That's a little bit less stressful and just relax and tell your story.
Yeah, Coffee Connects are probably my favorite chamber event or function because, it helps. It's first thing in the morning, so you haven't really gotten involved in all the stress and all the different things that pull you in a million directions of the day. I get coffee, which I'm a bit of a coffee junkie. If I could figure out how to have an IV bag of coffee with me all day, I probably would. But, it's a fun way to start your day because you show up, whoever's hosting us, it's at different locations every time. You got to be a chamber member to host, but we'll go to that location. They provide coffee and usually some breakfast refreshments, things like that. And then you just start your morning drinking a cup of coffee and chatting with people. And then about halfway through, I quiet the room down. I say a few things on behalf of the chamber. I thank our hosts. The hosts get to say, they've got a captive audience and they get to say, why do we want to host? What cool things do we have going on? Whatever. It's their 3 to 5 minute elevator or, commercial. And then every single person in the room gets to do depending on how many people are there and how much time we have left, it's 30 seconds or 60 seconds. And they get to give their pitch on who they are and what they do. And what's cool about that piece is while everybody's introducing themselves, everybody else in the room is quiet, theoretically, and they are listening to who's introducing themselves because, if there's 40, 50 people in the room, you don't get to meet them all in that environment. But by stopping everything and them introducing themselves, you know exactly who you want to make a beeline for and connect with as soon as the introductions are done because you're like, oh, I need to connect with that guy.
I've seen that happen. Exactly.
Every time.
As soon as everybody's released, they shoot across the room.
Yeah, they're paying attention to who's there, and they'll then make a very targeted connection. And often it's from 8 to 9, but there have been many times where I've still been there and not been alone. And there's been other people still there 10 o'clock, even though it ended an hour ago because they made a connection. They're building relationships. They're exchanging business. It's a networking event.
And just to be clear, it's from the smallest business that there is to the largest.
Absolutely.
And you do not have to be a member. You just have to be a member to host.
Yep. You got to be a member to host. You're supposed to be a member to go on a regular basis. However, we often we open the door up to people to come as a guest. You know, you can come twice, check it out. After that, we really want you to join because there's a value. I mean, other people were paying membership dues to be a part of this organization. We're constantly trying to provide value for those dollars. And so if we just let everybody come for free all the time, then why is anybody going to pay? You know? Right. So we really try to encourage people, you know, if you want to try it before you buy, by all means, come to a Coffee Connect. And they usually see it, enjoy it, and join if they haven't already.
And the chamber certainly looks at things through a different lens or sees it differently. What's the energy you're feeling in downtown Caldwell right now amongst the businesses?
At this moment, the energy is good because, you know, it's that time of year where things are just starting to pop off. You know, we have a huge, you know, downtown presence and buzz when the lights are on, but when the lights are off and the ice rink is closed, from then until when the weather gets good, it's tough. That shoulder season is really tough for the businesses. So we're now at the tail end of that shoulder season. We just had our second this week. Destination Caldwell did their second. Tuesdays on the Creek is the term I was looking for. The first one was fantastic. It set the record. It was their best opening Tuesday on the Creek that they've ever had. And I was there. It was awesome. This week, a couple days ago, the weather really played into it. It was rough.
Yeah.
But as a whole, people are really starting to get excited for summer in Caldwell because there's a ton of cool things to do downtown. Now, second part of your question. I'm just adding a second part.
That's okay. That's fine. It may be here.
It's tough right now in some ways for the businesses because, you know, that bridge project has, you know, it messes up traffic. It definitely affects our businesses like Flying M and Grit 2C and a lot of the other businesses down there because of just sheer access and convenience. A lot of people will shop or stumble into a place just because they're there and it's convenient. But that's a
podcast dog right there.
Yeah,
so
no, I was going to
it.
reach over and pet her, but you know, it's having a toll on those businesses. So, you know, I just had a conversation. I had a meeting with Ophelia yesterday, and we were talking about this because they're even hearing complaints about how much of a toll it's taking from businesses that do not typically complain. So they know that when these businesses start saying there's an issue, it's a problem.
It's a catch-22, right? The bridge needs fixed or repaired or replaced.
Yeah, you got to do it. I mean, what else can you do? You
right.
can't let the bridge fall into the river, you know, or
that's right.
whatever. So it's a jagged pill that, you know, we're going to come out better at the end of it. But what do you do while the bridge is going on? And you know, I don't know what the timeline is on the bridge. You know, if it's like any other construction project out there, it's probably going to get delayed. And so not knocking construction guys, I love them to death, but you know, these type of projects, they just, you know, you're peeling layers on an onion, you know, you don't know what you're going to get. My money is on, it's not going to be on time. And so my conversation was with Ophelia is how can we help the downtown businesses while this is going on? What can we be doing as a Chamber of Commerce? I don't care if you're a member or not. At the end of the day, we want your first question. We are trying to make this the best place around to conduct business, and we want it to be healthy and thriving. Whether you're a chamber or not, you're benefiting from the things that we're doing, whether you're a member or not. So granted, we want you to be a member. We want to build more value for that, but we're here to help all businesses in Caldwell.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're looking at some ideas on how we can try to do some promotion or maybe encourage people to go visit those businesses that are a little tougher to get to right now.
Yeah. And how long have you been the executive director?
Here, I started in October of 23.
So in just the last few years, you've seen the growth continue. It was started before you arrived, and it's going to continue. Any changes that the chamber has made to accommodate that growth, or have you had to change anything within the patterns or the policies or how you're helping businesses? As
a chamber, so I came in at a really interesting time for our chamber. We had gone through a number of directors and, you know, not knocking any of the prior ones, but anytime you have a change at the head of the organization, you at least temporarily take a step or two back before they can get their feet underneath them and start moving things forward. I don't care how good they are. You don't just hit the ground day one and make it better. You take a step back and then you start working forward. Well, when you have director change after director change after director change in short periods of time, it brings you back a long way. So I'm not knocking any of the predecessors. I'm just saying we had some issues and some challenges, and then I came in and we'd been knocked back a lot. And we'd been working our way out of a fairly challenging situation for quite a while. The good news is we've been making good progress. We got our communication reestablished right off the bat. We started fixing relationships that needed fixing. You know, our events are better attended. We're selling more sponsorships. On almost every single measurement, we are positive. Where we still face challenges is the cost of doing business, you know, has gone up. And, you know,
Everything.
I mean, it's just more expensive. People cost more, employees cost more, rent costs more, utilities cost more. And so while our income is up, our expenses are up as well. And, you know, we're always understaffed. We're always having too many projects that we can handle at any given time. But that's just the nature of chambers of commerce. We have to do a lot with very little resources.
What are like the next 3 big things that the chamber is trying to accomplish within the next year?
You know, increasing our membership, number one, always increasing our membership. We should have more. I mean, we have over 400 businesses that are members of our organization, which is really good. And it's up significantly from 3 years ago. But based on the population size of Caldwell and how many businesses are here, we should be a lot more than 400. So we're working our way to that. I think we should be a 500 to 600 member chamber, you know, now. And we should be knocking on the door of, you know, chambers like Nampa, where they have, I think, you know, 800 members. They're still a bigger city, and there's probably still going to be, you know, it's not always directly proportionate, but with the amount of economic growth that we've seen in Caldwell in the last few years, we need to be hitting bigger numbers. And so I'm working on that.
Yeah, excellent. And so were there any other challenges? You spoke of a couple.
Mm-hmm.
Any other challenges within the chamber?
We're all
from volunteers to anything. Are there some challenges?
Yeah, I mean, because
you do the nightlight parade,
mm-hmm.
which we would eventually gotten to, but like how many volunteers does that take? And it's usually the streets, right?
So thankfully last year we didn't have to, and I hope that it continues. But for all the years prior that I know of, we had to also manage through volunteers the road closures. And just the road closures by itself. So every roadblock along the route, all that, you know, we had to have people at every single closure. And it took 100 people just for that piece alone, not including all the staging area stuff, the volunteer hospitality and all the other things that we need a bunch of volunteers for. Just the road closures alone, we needed 100 volunteers for that. The police department last year figured out, for the amount that they were paying all the overtime to bring in extra officers and the liability of using volunteers for that as opposed to like hired security, they did the math and it actually penciled out significantly in the favor of hiring professional security to do those closures and know that they've got, you know, contracted, insured, bonded people at those closures as opposed to well-meaning volunteers that have huge liability exposure.
And especially if something goes wrong, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we did have things go wrong. People would be so awful to our volunteers because there's some poor 16-year-old kid trying to man a barricade and somebody wants to get through and they're mad because they're inconvenienced that they can't get from point A to point B because of the parade. And they're just jerks, you know, but every year we would have at least a few of those. And with the private security, it saved the police department money. It was way better for us. We didn't have crying or stressed out, you know, volunteers, and we didn't have to go find that many volunteers either. So it was a really good improvement. We're going to hopefully do that again this year.
Yeah, that's the Christmas parade. That's one of the main events that the chamber puts on. The other one,
Yeah, the two biggest events
the
we do.
Buckaroo Breakfast.
Buckaroo
Let's talk
Breakfast
about that one
and the
too.
Treasure Valley Nightlight Parade. One thing I think people don't
sure.
realize about the Nightlight Parade, and then we'll jump to the breakfast. So the Nightlight Parade, to my knowledge, and nobody's disputed me on this yet. Eventually, I'm going to say it enough, and
We
somebody
can
will
ask
try to challenge
AI
me.
here in a minute and see what it says.
I believe it's the largest nightlight Christmas parade in the Pacific Northwest. It's huge. We have over 100 entries every single year. It takes us a mile of space just to stage them. And that's when they're all crammed together like sardines with 5 feet from one float to the next.
Right.
It takes over a mile of space for that. And then it takes so long to get them out and through the parade that by the time the first float is off at the end of the parade down past Kimball, the very last float in the staging area is usually just about to start the parade. It's awesome.
So
If
you want to
have
be in the
not-
first 10 or 15 floats,
Yeah,
right?
if you want to be done early, yes, yeah, because it's going to be a long night. And we actually, so here's a little secret: if people want to take advantage of that, the bigger sponsor you are, or the earlier you register, the closer you are to the front. So
Very good.
sponsor and get registered early, and we'll put you closer to the front. And
Do you have a date for that yet?
yes,
the
always the
top of your
first,
head?
always the first Saturday in December. This year that lands on December 5th. So we tell people always just put the first Saturday in December on your calendar as the parade day. And it's an awesome day. It's exhausting for us, but we love it. And we just, it's such a cool thing for the community. I can't ever see us not doing it.
Yeah, and the CNR Rodeo, Caldwell Night Rodeo, is an awfully big event, and you're involved in
Yep.
that
Yeah.
every day as well. Tell us a little bit
Yeah,
about the
so-
Buckaroo Breakfast.
CNR, they've been doing the rodeo for this is like their 102nd year, I think,
Believe
something like
so.
that, 102. And so they got us by a few years, but for 93 of those years, we have partnered with them and we do the Buckaroo Breakfast. So this will be our 93rd year of the breakfast. So during rodeo week, we're right outside O'Connor Fieldhouse. We take over that whole west section of the parking area right there next to O'Connor. And we provide pancakes, eggs, sausage, hash browns, and whatever else we can dig up, coffee, juice. Stinker Station has been bringing out their fresh squeezed orange juice machine the last few years. They've done donuts and stuff, and they're coming back again as well. I just confirmed that yesterday. And we serve like 2,000 breakfasts over the course of the week. And it's goofy because it's just a cheap pancake breakfast, right? I mean, our people do a good job. And in this, last year especially, we brought it up a whole other level. And we're going to continue to really make sure that if you're going to pay $10 for a community pancake breakfast, by God, they're going to be good pancakes and you're going to enjoy it. But at any given moment, on any day out there, I tell people, I'm like, look across the parking lot at who's here right now. You're seeing CEOs, you're seeing elected officials, mayors, not just from our community, but others as well. I mean, you are seeing heavy hitters of the community coming out to eat some pancakes and sausage and just enjoy a community event that has been going for almost a century. It's so cool. And I love that part where everybody's doing their thing. Everything is running like it should. And there's always a moment where I just look across the crowd and I'm like, man, this is cool. It's just like this feeling in the air that things are going well. People are there and we're doing something. You can't quite put a finger on what we're doing, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's kid friendly.
It's kid friendly. Yeah. It was not knocking the school districts, but a few years ago, they altered their schedule. It used to be the breakfast was always the week before school started. So we got a lot more kids and families there during the week. And we also had more volunteers from like the high schools. Now, for good reasons, the schools have had to alter their schedule. But since the first week of school also is during the Buckaroo Breakfast and school's in session now, it definitely has changed how many kids we see, but we still see a lot of homeschool kids or pre-K kids. And we still do it on Saturday too. So we got a lot of more families on Saturday.
Yeah, and that takes quite a few volunteers as well.
Yeah.
To run that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like 20 plus a day. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then in regards to collaboration, not only within business districts, but you certainly collaborate with other chambers around the area.
We do.
As well as the Hispanic chamber.
Yeah. That didn't always used to be a thing.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah. So years and years ago, when I got my start in the chamber world, I was a member working for another company, and they said, go get involved in chamber, and that's how you're going to develop business. And so that's what I did. And I just got sucked into the chamber world. I got so involved in everything. Eventually I started working for the Boise Metro Chamber. Just I've been working in the chamber world pretty much ever since. At that time, when I started working for the Boise Metro Chamber, I was an account manager. So I'd go out and try to find businesses that want to join, tell them how great it was and all that. And a lot of businesses will join more than one chamber because you don't have to have brick and mortar in Caldwell to have a presence in our business community. You can do that through our Chamber of Commerce and all the events that we do. So you don't have to have an office or a building. But businesses that have a larger presence over the whole Treasure Valley, they'll join multiple chambers so they can go to multiple things and have, expand their business all over the valley. If I did a membership and tried to set up a ribbon cutting to welcome them into the chamber in Meridian or some other place when there was different directors, like it was territorial. People would be like, what are you doing? This is a Meridian business, or this, and they're like, why are you selling in my territory? It was not friendly. Not like it is today. Today, I'm proud to report it is vastly different. We have an organization called the Idaho Chamber Alliance, where chambers across the state, it's like our association where we share best practices and get together and all that. But particularly in the Treasure Valley, Bobby Joe in Boise, Sean in Meridian, Mitch in Nampa, Eagle Chamber, Cuna Chamber, we all not only get along, but like we consider each other friends and allies, and we call each other and bounce ideas off each other. We do joint ribbon cuttings now. So, we do a lot of them with Nampa just because they're our closest neighbor. So the deal I have with Mitch is if the business has a Caldwell address, we take the point and they show up to support. If it's a Nampa address, we show up to support and they do the, they lead the ceremonies and stuff like that. But we do a lot of those. Last night, on the plaza, we partnered with the Idaho Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and DC so that, we had 40, 50 people on the plaza from 3 to 5. It was a networking event. It was joint. It was advertised by both the Hispanic Chamber and the Caldwell Chamber. I even called Mitch and I said, hey, man, if you're free, come out to this. We invite each other to stuff. That is not the way it used to be. So I'm really proud of the Treasure Valley and the chambers and all the leaders that we have at those chambers. We're actually in a really kind of a nexus state of chamber leadership across the valley because we've got really good people at the helm, and we want to work together because every single one of us recognizes we have much more to gain by collaboration than by competition. So, we work really, really well with the other chambers.
Sure. And what would you say that the community can do to help the chamber?
What can the community do to help the chamber? Number one, encourage businesses to join. It's for a basic for-profit small business, with not a lot of employees. We're talking less than $300 a year to join. So it's not even $1 a day. The listing in our directory alone is worth $300 a year. So encourage businesses to join. Number two, come to stuff. Come to the breakfast. For us, it's a fundraiser. For them, it's an opportunity to do something fun, connect with the community, engage in tradition, and meet new people. That's the kind of stuff that I think the community can do. And then encourage, if you're a chamber member, use the directory. We make that thing for a reason. Support other chamber members. Thank them for being a member of this organization because, we're not like, nobody has to join the chamber. They elect to join the chamber. They choose to, and they choose to pay dues to belong to this organization. And we're helping their business, whether they do that or not. So please support us, whether you're in Boise or Meridian, wherever, join your local chamber. And even as an individual, I think all the chambers, as far as I know, have, some sort of individual chamber supporter or, even if you're retired and no longer have a business, support your local chamber because we're the place that people go to when they're visiting the area or they've just moved to the area and they're like, I don't know where to go for this or that. They come to the Chamber of Commerce. We get calls for all kinds of crazy stuff. Like I've literally had somebody call It was an older gentleman. He was widowed, and he wanted a recipe to make chicken, like how to cook chicken. And this was at a different chamber, but our volunteer that answered the phone, she found him a recipe and walked him through how to make chicken. Like that's the kind of stuff that chambers do in their community. Like again, we're that kiosk at the mall. We try to find whatever you're looking for, whatever it is. You know, if you're looking for a type of business, we refer to members first. And then if we don't have a member that we can refer you to, then we look outside the chamber. Again, that's that value thing we're always trying to build in. But, you know, we get the weirdest calls, and we try to, help in any way we possibly can.
And quite honestly, the Buckaroo breakfast for $10, you can't hardly do breakfast for $10.
Yeah, where can you go and get a full breakfast for $10? Let alone be next to CEOs and county commissioners and mayors and city councilors, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a great event that helps our community and promotes the businesses that also sponsor that. So if they'd like to sponsor that, they can certainly reach out.
Yes, I still have sponsorships
what's your
available.
Website?
Yeah.
If we want to give a shout out to that.
Yeah, www.caldwellchamber.org. And then if you want to email me, Travis@caldwellchamber.org, and then the info goes to Lindy, and we'll do the best we can to take care of you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Travis. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Yeah. Do it again.